Sixers fought, but at the end, costly turnovers and not good enough defense. That's what really plagued them as they dropped their 4th straight game. This is Sixers Postgame Live, brought to you by Kyoto Insurance, Amy Fiddle, Jim Lynam, and Mark Jackson. And listen, this was another game that they had in hand. They had the opportunities. You go back to the Pistons game. That was an opportunity. The Raptors, they were shorthanded. Brandon Ingram, who they just traded for and signed to an extension, he wasn't playing. R.J. Barrett wasn't playing. Jakob Poeltl wasn't playing. Just like Cade Cunningham didn't play against the Pistons and in the Pistons game, and Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play in that Bucks game. But Coach, the result is still the same, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought they were in good shape when they dug themselves out of that early hole. You know, they just didn't have it at the top of the game. But I have to give Toronto some credit, as you just said, Amy. You know, they were very undermanned, but they hung all night long. You know, the Sixers, would get the lead. Toronto would bounce right back. And bottom line for me, 103 points in this league most nights is not going to be enough. You know, teams average north of 110, 112, let's say. So if you look at the Sixer numbers, both shooting overall and three-point shooting specifically, you're going to see low percentages. Yeah, three-point shooting, 9 of 38. There it is. That's under 24%. That's never going to get it done, especially when you're not getting the second chance points. You're not getting points out in transition. There's a lot of things you can point to, but when you only make 9 three-pointers and one of your lead guys, Tyrese Maxey, we're going to talk about in a minute, only has 5 points and 1 field goal, that's going to be awfully tough to overcome, Mark.
It is, Amy. It is. You know, it's unfortunate that we seem to be playing a favorable schedule of teams that's not having the nucleus of their teams. And we are the ones coming out with the L's. And we have our entire team. So I look at this game, I look at the Milwaukee game, I look at the Detroit game, and it's very frustrating to me that we can't turn the corner and win these games. We just can't. And I don't understand what the problem is, but it is a problem. Because we're not playing against a team at full capacity. Right. We play against a team that's handicapped and not having their guys. And we can't get the victory, but they can. What does that say about us? Not necessarily what it say about them.
Yeah, I think it really is more a reflection back on what the Sixers are dealing with. It's the 13th game that you've had your full complement of Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, and they're unfortunately 7-6 in that. They're only one game over 5. They've lost now all of the games, the recent 4 that they've all played, they've lost those games, and that's been really tough to swallow. There was plenty of opportunity for the Sixers to win this one. That's why this one's going to stick with them a little bit longer. Tyrese Maxey made 1 field goal. This is the only field goal he made in the entire game. It's a three-pointer, and it ties the game, Coach.
Yeah, and I had that sense, that he'll jump out of the box in the late going, but literally his only field goal of the game. And it's now he drives the lane, but you see the defense converge, and trust me, he was at the top of this scouting report. They were really going to make Tyrese score in traffic all night long. Pick him all kind of plays. They doubled him. If he penetrated towards the basket, they just came with whoever was the closest big guys and tried to challenge him.
Maxey 1 for 9. It's just really rough. So you hear, this is going to be good defense here. Paul George comes it out.
24-second. Nice play by Paul George.
They forced that, Mark Jackson. And you're thinking, okay.
Good D. Good possession.
Right? 20 seconds left.
Yep. Exactly.
We're in good shape.
Exactly. You're expecting us to get to play it in our favor because we have the ball. We have our full complement of players. So it should favor us. And then right here.
Wide open at the top of the key. Jim and I are yelling at the television. Yelling at it.
Yeah, put him on the floor and he simply lost the handle. Watch it crawl up his back, right there. See it? He made a little dribble move, changed direction through his legs.
So they have one opportunity. Grady Dick only made 1 of 2 on the free throw line. Tyrese Maxey. I like the play call. Obviously, it didn't go down, was short.
I don't like the fact that it came down to that play.
Right, yeah. You don't want it to come down to a forced.
It never comes down to one play when winning or losing the game. It comes down to a lot more.
Where did it go wrong then, do you think?
I think it was, I think it was this. I can't put my exact finger on why we lost and why they won, but I'll tell you this, that Raptor team seemed to have things that played better.
Yeah.
Fact, they just played better than us. Like, how? How is that so? They don't have Brandon Ingram. They don't have R.J. Barrett. They don't have very important pieces. Milwaukee didn't have Giannis.
Yeah, I know.
Detroit didn't have the All-Star Cade. But we have our players. We have our nucleus of players. Our guy who's been a bright spot of this season, Maxey, had arguably his worst game of his career. Can I say it?
It's the fewest field goals he's ever had when playing 30 minutes or more. He had 1 field goal in 30 minutes. It's mind-boggling because he had been on such a tear. He's a guy who just put up 39 points against the Bucks. He was on that tear where he scored 16 straight games of at least 28 points. It's confounding. I know defensively they really showed a lot. He was at the top of their scouting report. They know that he can really do some damage inside and outside, and he just was bottled up all game long.
But Amy, listen, Amy, I know Raptors are a very good defensive team, but they ain't that darn great. They're not going to – I don't believe that Raptors can shut Maxey down.
The assists, the whole game was off. And I'll be interested to hear from Nick Nurse. We're going to hear from him coming up. And sometimes
that's no disrespect to the Raptors.
Right. No, they're a good defensive team, but they're missing their full complement. Guys that would probably be a little bit more adept at defending Tyrese Maxey. Emmanuel quickly does a nice job, I think, but I don't know if he does this good of a job.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this to you, Mark Jackson. I think you mentioned the thought. Is it possible? You and I both know how much mental preparation and having your mindset, right on the game. When I look at Tyrese play a game like this, which is almost inexplicable to me, is it possible that disappointment of not being selected, when you didn't get picked for a game you belong in, and now you have a second crack at the apple, and they take Trae Young over you? Could that have been somehow interfering with his mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the observer from outside would say, oh, that shouldn't matter. We're all competitive. We all compete. We want to be the best. We say, I just want to win. We want to win, but we want to be the best. We love the competition. We love the battle. And it's a battle. Jalen Brunson's in there. LaMelo Ball led the whole thing, NBA in votes. Maxey didn't get voted. And then they have a selection to do alternate. He still didn't get in right before this game. I would say, to me, people say, oh, it don't matter. To me, being 100% honest, it wouldn't matter to me if I was Maxey. It could have played a part in this. I'm not saying it didn't. This is no disrespect to Maxey, because we said Maxey's been a bright spot for this team from day one this season. For me personally, and I'm not a weak-minded person, physically or mentally, and it would have bothered me. Would it bother me? And I think it did. I would say it did.
But you're the fourth leading scorer at over 28 points a game, and you get left off the All-Star roster. Tyrese Maxey, 1 for 9. That's a very low numbers for his shots as far as what he's used to playing and we expect him at for an entire game. Let's check out our Yingling Presents Lager Up. Fire up a couple of lagers. This is good defense. You can see what they're doing. Emmanuel quickly and they were teammates together in the 1 year that Maxey was at Kentucky. It's good defense, don't get me wrong.
And he's seen better.
Is it the best defense you've ever seen? They obviously knew that he was a guy that they were going to try to really frustrate, and maybe that also played into it, Coach. They're chasing him around a bit. The frustration then kind of also snowballed.
Yeah, I would say that's possible. And your point that, quickly, obviously, he knows Maxey.
Yes, he does.
The two of them were in the gym together, right?
Yeah.
It's a combination of factors. I do think that's why I asked Mark. I do, the mental part of this game. It's a hard game to begin with, and if you're not locked in, with the task at hand, it can slip very quickly.
Uncharacteristically, it was 4 turnovers for Tyrese Maxey to just 3 assists. And we were talking during one of the breaks at halftime. Emmanuel quickly and Tyrese Maxey, they formed what's called the Breakfast Club. And then one year that they were together at Kentucky, and they would get up and practice together at 5 a.m. So they certainly are very well familiar with each other's games. That could have played a factor into it. I mean, you look for different things as to why you could look at a night when you're looking at a stat line like Tyrese Maxey, whether it's the all-star snub, whether it's just really good defense, whether it's his opponent knowing him exceptionally well, whether it's just frustrating, because there's got to be a reason behind it. Here's a guy that's averaging 28 points and he gets 5.
And the reason, so let's say this, people watching at home. The reason why we're saying this about Maxey is that's how great he is. So don't get it mistaken. We know how great he is. He's been the bright spot for not just this 76 team, but for every fan in Philadelphia this season and the season past. So we know what he's capable of. Maxey, is he allowed to have an off night? Absolutely. 9 shot attempts for your leading scorer? Not acceptable. That's not who Maxey is. Yeah. I don't care how great Quickly is. I don't care how great he knows him. No great offense. Listen to this, people. Take this down. No great offensive player in this league can be stopped one-on-one by any player here in the league. Any player. Maxey cannot be stopped by Quickly. He cannot be stopped by LeBron. He can't be stopped by your best defender. But 9 shots for Maxey, that's not Maxey.
Yeah, it was very unusual. We're going to hear from Nick Nurse coming up after this quick timeout. Hopefully we will be able to hear from Tyrese Maxey as well. Stick with us. Sixers Postgame Live is brought to you by